Episode 71. Please forgive my sins. Hey guys, it's David here, and welcome to another Order and Chaos discussion. Today we are going to be focused on one class that I don't talk about too much because I'm not an expert on it, but in the past I have had an expert come on in this show, and it's Will. And you've changed your name several times, so you can introduce yourself however you want.
Alright, well, let's see. Formerly known as Deadly Knife, now known as Gnomercy with a G, because I'm a little Mendel running around. But, hey guys, I'm here to talk about sins yet again for the new update.
Yes, and that's a very clever name, by the way, Gnomercy.
Thank you. It was a tie for me between No Mercy and Shin Kicker.
Alright. So, first of all, what has changed with the Sin talent tree since level 60?
Well, there's a lot of changes for Sins. The talent tree has a couple of changes, but everything is, around the same. The biggest changes for Sins are the fact that our damage is now mostly poison, where it used to be a lot of dagger stabs and, swift strikes. It's still dagger stabs and swift strikes, but the majority of our damage is going to be from poison now. Okay.
And do you use acute toxicity?
Yeah, I would like to use acute in one hand and the paralyzing in the other, but right now paralyzing is glitched, and if you get 3 stacks of it on an enemy, it actually speeds them up 60% instead of slowing them down.
Oh, okay.
So right now acute is the only poison that works, at least for Sins. So, I'm sticking with that, but it's a lot of damage.
So the damage output has increased a lot since last update?
It has. I think every class's damage output has increased quite a lot, mages in particular.
Yeah.
But for assassins, like I said, it's mostly poison. If you use Assassin's Contract, which now makes your poison have a 100% chance to affect the target for 20 seconds, if you use that, then you're doing at least an extra 600 damage per hit. So, that's how you see in arenas these assassins taking monks out in under 5 seconds. You use Assassin's Contract before and you do, your normal swift strike, dagger stab, cutthroat, all that fun stuff. But then you're getting an extra 600 to 1,000 damage on each of those attacks, plus your white attacks. So it's just overall a ton more damage.
Alright. And I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like Sins have a lot more stuns now. Especially on my monk, I use free will after 3 seconds of a sin, and then I get stunned again. So I'm not exactly sure how that happens.
It's not supposed to happen, to be honest. It's a glitch that they need to fix, or they at least need to rename. It's the 4 out of 6, the 4 out of 4, I should say, Tier 1 PvP armor, the level 60.
Oh, okay.
Its new set effect is that every time your dagger stab hits, no matter if it crits or not, as long as it hits, it resets the cooldown of your shadow blink, whatever that's called. And in your talent tree, there's an upgrade where every time you shadow blink, it stuns for 6 seconds. So it's pretty much an unlimited stun. It says that it's a 6-second daze effect, not a stun effect, which would mean, for 6 seconds, as long as the target doesn't take any damage, it would remain stunned. But right now, it's glitched so that it's an actual stun. So, you can still attack them. So if they fix it, Sins are going to be a lot less powerful.
Alright. So, would you recommend going into the Archer tree at all as a Sin? Because I know people used to double spec, but now these days it seems like most people stick with just one.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have to pick which one, especially for Rangers more than almost any other class, probably Rangers and Warriors, because if you select your main, your first primary talent, and then it'll increase your melee or range, depending on which one you select, by 30%, and decrease your melee or ranged by 60%. So you can't really dual spec. A big thing now is, speccing to increase your poison. You'll put 1 point into acute toxicity, 4 points into the upgrade that's right above that. I think it's called Deadly Poison, maybe. That increases its critical chance to 20%, and then 3 points into wound infection, which increases its chances to take effect by 15%. And then you put the rest in the assassin tree, and that'll make it so that 1 out of every 3 attacks is going to have a poison, and then, there's a 25% chance for you to cause a critical hit with your poison.
Alright. So, do you think that this update made Sins more self-sufficient? And by that, I mean how mages can basically just solo mobs and get a bunch of mobs and just kill them all without losing too much health. Do you think that Sins are more self-sufficient now, and that they can just, solo things a lot more easier?
We can definitely solo stuff easier. That is in part, of course, due to the glitch right now where you can have infinite stuns.
Mm-hmm.
But once they fix that, we'll be a little less self-sufficient. You can kill an elite mob by using Assassin's Contract without the glitched PvP set. So if you have Assassin's Contract, you should be able to kill mobs, but that has a pretty long cooldown. So right now, we're pretty self-sufficient due to the armor set. But once that gets taken away, we'll be, a little less powerful alone. Now, we do have a smoke bomb upgrade, which restores 30% of our max health.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a heal. We have our own heal now, which is very nice, and that also helps with being, riding solo.
Would you say that Sins are more useful than archers in that respect? Because, archers have, split shot, and they can just kill a bunch of mobs at once. What combination of skills would you have to use as a Sin to achieve that same kind of thing?
We have one AoE effect now. We did not have one before the update, but our only AoE effect now is Cutthroat. If we upgrade it, it will silence for 3 seconds and cause a bleed effect on all targets within 4 meters up to 4 targets. So that pretty much means that, you can use Cutthroat and then switch targets, use Cutthroat, and get a bleeding effect on a bunch of mobs. But it's nothing compared to the Archer's split shot. So, I think it's the same as it always has been. Archer is going to be best for player versus environment, or, dungeons and that kind of thing. And Assassin's going to be better for PvP just because of the extended stealth that they have. And, Assassins have a little bit more survivability, and they can do a little bit more damage in a small amount of time. But for, overall for dungeons, I think you're going to want to go with Archer again this update.
Okay. So there's a skill, and I'm not sure if it's just for archers, that increases your vigor. Do you know which one that is?
Yes and no. It does not increase your vigor, but it increases the rate at which you regenerate it by 30%. And actually your first, it's the, the main assassin leading skill.
Oh, okay.
So it's the first one that you select if you're an assassin, and it just increases your vigor regeneration rate by 30%, which is nice, and you can definitely tell before and after, but you get used to it, and it really doesn't help that much.
Alright, so do you think that a lot of the assassin skills take, a lot of vigor?
I think the only real vigor eater is going to be Dagger Stab, as it always has been, and Smoke Bomb, but Dagger Stab's the big one that always, since the very beginning of the game, it's cost a lot of vigor and it's done a lot of damage. And it's that way again this update. Nothing really has changed. Same damage, pretty much same vigor cost. So that's the only real vigor eater in this update.
For melee monks, usually if they use a two-handed weapon, then they lose their mana a lot, but they do a lot of damage output, as opposed to using 2 Kadars, which are one-handers, and they don't do as much damage, but they get to conserve a lot more mana, so they can do more attacks. So, do you think that daggers for Sins are, a huge factor of being able to conserve the vigor? For example, if they had, a two-handed sword for Sins, do you think that would make a big difference?
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought this up, because I'm kind of debating this myself right now. For my next weapon that I'm going to get, I already have one of the new daggers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm deciding whether to get the main hand sword or, another dagger for my offhand. And the thing is, right now our damage is so heavily focused on poison that, the dagger's faster so it can apply more poison, but the main hand sword does more damage. So, you can dagger stab higher and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons out here. Right now, just because we're so focused on poison, I'm kind of leaning towards the dagger. I might get the sword just to test it out, because, I can always get the dagger again later. I'm recommend that you start going with the dagger, and then if you really want to, you can get the sword. But to kind of bring it back to your main question, I think a big thing with Sins is the attack speed. So if there was a two-handed, assassin weapon, it really depends. I mean, if you can dagger stab for like 7,000 with it or something, then yeah, by all means, go for it. But if it's a little bit of a boost for a lot slower of a weapon, I would stick with, 2 daggers, just because you can apply more poisons.
Okay. So this is just like an overarching question about rangers, but do you think that like it doesn't take as much skill to be an archer as opposed to a Sin, and that maybe archers are more noobish?
I'd say they're very different.
Mm-hmm.
Sins are pretty overpowered right now. We have our own heal, we have unlimited stuns, and we can take anything out within 5 seconds because of Assassin's Contract. So we're overpowered, and that kind of means that, it's a little easier to play an assassin. But if you really want a class that can do, a ton of damage in a super small amount of time, go mages.
I mean, definitely like when mages aren't missing stuff, as in like missing mobs that are above their level, they seem to be really badass.
Yeah, it seems to me that getting to 70 is probably almost hardest as the mage. It's going to be really hard to get to 70 as a mage, but once you're there, you're really powerful.
Let's move on to the Sin trinket glitch, and this was basically patched, but I don't know too much about like how it was patched. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so you can technically still do it, but what happens is the old glitch, I'll let everyone know because, they fixed it, was that you would take the Chaos Trinket that would reduce your Smoke Bomb cooldown time by 20%, and if you had a move in your talent tree called Shadow Brace, every time you Smoke Bomb, it heals you for 30% of your max health. So what you would do is you would put one random trinket and then your Chaos Fang in your little sidebar, and you'd switch between them, and there was a glitch where instead of it reducing your cooldown, it would just heal you for 30% of your health every time you switch trinkets. So you can still do this, but when you switch to the Chaos Fang and you switch back, you can only do it once a minute, and if you do the glitch once a minute and then you Smoke Bomb in that same minute, the Smoke Bomb won't heal you. So it really has no effect anymore. It's useless to use right now, and there's no point in it, but it did mess up everyone's arena ratings for, 2 or 3 weeks when these assassin glitchers were just running around undefeated in arenas.
Yeah, you can't use it until after a minute, so what if you Smoke Bomb and then use the trinket? Would you get, like, double health from that?
Nope, it's, one of the two. So if you Smoke Bomb first, then you'll get healed from your Smoke Bomb, and if you switch your trinket, it won't heal you. If you switch your trinket first, it'll heal you, and then you Smoke Bomb, the Smoke Bomb won't heal you.
So does it actually say anywhere on the trinket description that it's supposed to heal?
It does not. It is a total and utter glitch, and it still is glitch. It does not say, it just says that it reduces cooldown time.
Wow. So I believe GameOff had like a 3-hour maintenance or so in order to fix that one glitch, and then when they actually fixed it, they made it so that it still doesn't match its description, and it still can heal people, which boggles my mind.
Yeah, the healing is pointless now, though. You're better off not, using it, just because it doesn't even give you an advantage. It more gives you a disadvantage because your Smoke Bomb doesn't heal you.
Yeah. I mean, that's possibly why GameOff did it, just to punish people who did that.
I still see people who used it running around, so GameOff obviously didn't ban them. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad they fixed it. I was hoping that they would fix a lot of the glitch talents, like, paralyzing poison and some military monk talents, when the maintenance happened, but sadly not.
Well, if you think about it, like, those talents, they don't really affect GameOff in any way revenue-wise. I mean, if you think about it, people weren't doing arenas because all these Sins were glitching, and then they weren't buying reset tabs for arenas, so GameOff was losing money, so they felt the need to fix it. So,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, people always find these kinds of glitches, but do you think it's more of the people who find it's fault, or it's more of GameLoft's fault for not catching it when they release the update?
I think GameLoft should try and catch it, but no MMO RPG is perfect. There are always going to be glitches. GameLoft should definitely fix it faster than they do. I think the main fault is that the players who find it out, they tell their friends tell their friends. Soon it's spread across the entire server. If one or two people were doing it and didn't tell anyone, we can live with that. But the fact that there were hundreds of sins using this glitch kind of messed everything up.
Well, I think of it as another way. Like, if one or two people are doing it, they don't tell anyone, they're getting an unfair advantage over everyone. That's what kind of scares me, like these people who know these glitches and they don't tell anyone, and then GameLoft never fixes it. When there's like 200 people using it, then GameLoft finds out about it, and they may take a while to fix it, but, I mean, they'll know about it. So the glitches that scare me the most are the ones that no one knows about except for like one or two people.
It all depends. I think you have a very valid point there. It's a big number of people that are using it, and GameLoft finds out about it and fixes it because there's a big number, then yes, that's awesome. I'm just saying, in my mind, it's more of a battle between what do you want, 2 sins using it or 200.
Yeah. And I think it's really sad on GameLoft's part that they don't really put PvP arena problems as a priority. And as we said, like a bunch of sins got to the top of the leaderboard. Like, you have to be skilled to be in PvP arenas and get top of the ranks. And probably the most hardcore players are doing PvP arenas. And for GameLoft to just ignore that and not fix it for weeks. I mean, it was probably like 3 weeks before they fixed it. They don't really care about the most hardcore aspect of this game. So
I agree, and to be honest, other than the dailies for gears and world bosses, it's the only end game content available right now.
Yep.
So the fact that it took them 4 weeks to fix half of what you can do once you reach 70 is crazy.
So speaking of things to do when you reach 70, a lot of people are now going back and doing old dungeons, and it's not really for the gear anymore as much as it is just to like challenge yourself, or just if you don't have anything else to do. This goes back to sins and rangers in general, and how we are now able to solo some of the bosses. Basically, there are a few glitches in each of the dungeons, and I showed this in one of my videos the other day. For GSL, you can glitch Tidehelm, but you still need the pots. You just go inside that wall and you attack him, and you can basically solo him. And I got that wrong because I said that you need like 10 different Tide pots, but actually only need 3 for the entire thing. So it may take an hour, but you only need 3 pots. You can also bring Kanyata behind that little fence thing, and I'm still not sure how to do that. But also, like for SPL, there's a Satyrus glitch, Cretheum glitch, and Zargus glitch, so you can essentially just solo both of those 2 dungeons. If you feel like for some reason upgrading your lava epics from last update, you can just get a bunch of lava cores. So I really have no problem with people who do this, because honestly, like, it's old content now, and the people who do it, they're not really trying to gain anything. They're not getting an unfair advantage because we already have like the 70 content. So I think it's pretty cool to find those glitches, and I could really care less if GameLoft fixes them or not, because honestly, like, the old dungeons are pretty pointless right now.
I think you said it pretty well. I mean, it doesn't affect me in any way. I could care less, and I think everyone shouldn't really care about this. Just because, like you said, there's all this new gear out. Now, if, this level 70 gear was dropping in these dungeons, then yes, I would care.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's all 60 gear that is outdated right now, it's all fine with me. Like, maybe there's 1 or 2 epics that are the best in the game that you can, still get from doing these, but you'd have to run them hundreds and hundreds of times, and it'd be a lot easier to run it in a group than by yourself. So, I mean, I feel like it's more of just a challenge for them, like you said, and it's not even, overly realistic that it's giving them an unfair advantage, because if they wanted to make a team, they would go through this a lot faster.
Yeah. Like you said, for the epics that are dropping, I mean, those are going to be obsolete eventually. There's going to be level 70 stuff that comes out, like trinkets, rings, etc. And all of that gear is going to be bad eventually, so it really doesn't matter. And I think this is actually good for GameLoft, because if people are just totally bored of level 70 content, they don't feel like doing PvP arenas or whatever, then they can just go into these dungeons and challenge themselves and have fun. with the old level 60 content. So
yeah, conspiracy theory time here. You gotta wonder, is this all an accident? The fact that, every single boss in every single dungeon right now, other than EHL, can be soloed?
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird if you think about it. Just the fact that every single boss in all the old dungeons, except for the hardest, last, and the dungeon that still has gear that can sort of be used, can be soloed.
Yeah, and it's really strange because I don't remember any of these glitches coming out before the update. It's like they intentionally added them.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dr. Naughty for finding these glitches and posting them on Glassboard. It's possible that he works for Gameloft, and he was sent here to tell us all about those glitches so that we can solve the bosses.
Yeah.
Who knows? Alright, so is there any other topic we want to talk about?
The game's, kind of slowing down. There's not a whole lot to do yet. Hopefully, near the beginning of summer, they'll release some sort of endgame content, whether that be, another arena or hopefully a dungeon, something like that. But until then, there's not too much to do other than level all your alts and play around with the talent trees, PvP, and get these weird gear weapons and all the T3. There's one thing real fast I want to say. The new PvP gear and the new Tier 3 gear that you can purchase with the mechanical gears and Essence of God, both of them are blue. So there's no set effects for either of them. And, everyone's saying, oh, you're going to be able to upgrade the Tier 3 gear with Essence from the new dungeon or something like that. But what about the new PvP gear? Are you going to have to upgrade that too? Maybe there are essences that you buy with arena points coming out? I have no idea.
I mean, they already have Essences of God for these new gears that we need. And if you remember from the level 60 update, we just had rune gear. And then, wasn't there like a way to actually craft those rune gears? Like from RKL? There's some recipe.
Oh yeah, but that didn't come out till like the KPL update or something.
Yeah,
you had to, for the first, almost for the first year, you had to buy your rune gear with runes.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just going back to Gameloft being greedy, but I'm asking, like, were there essences that you needed to upgrade that gear?
Oh, yes, general symbols to create rune gear.
Okay, so what I would think is that instead of Essences of God for a regular blue gear, they would have added some sort of new symbol that you have to, like, farm for more bosses or something. I mean, it could also be, like, it could be the dailies as well, and it's not Fragments of God, it's, like, Fragments of Master or something, like Master symbols, I don't know. It's very strange, because you're wondering, like, if there's a dungeon that's going to add stuff to upgrade these to Epic, I mean, are they just going to add, like, a new essence when they already have Essence of God?
Well, I'm pretty sure they're going to add a new essence for the Tier 3. I was just confused about the PvP, because right now I have one piece of the new PvP gear. There are no set effects, because it's blue.
Yeah.
There's no, set effects, and they're going to have to put set effects in, because other than, a few more health points and a little bit more resilience, there is no reason for you to have Tier 2 PvP gear over Tier 1, because the Tier 1 has a set effect. So they're going to have to find a way to, upgrade this PvP gear so that you'll have some sort of effect for it to be worth it.
Yeah, and if Gameloft is planning to upgrade the PvP gear, I think that they did a really good job with making it blue this time. Because last time, they just automatically had Epic PvP Tier 1 gear, and I thought that was kind of stupid that it was all Epic already. But if they are going to have a way to upgrade the PvP gear, that's good, because then you're working in order to upgrade it, and then that gives more of an incentive to do PvP arenas, instead of just getting 6 out of 6 Epic already. So if they have like a recipe, or some sort of thing that you can reinforce with the PvP gear, that'd be really good, because then people would be still working in PvP arenas. And it would greatly make it so that you can either do PvE or PvP, and you can't really focus on both. And I think some hardcore people would like that.
Yeah, it'll definitely show, who's really good in PvP and who's not, who spends a lot of time there. That is one thing I would be worried about, though. It's going to create a pretty big rift between PvE and PvP.
Yeah.
And it might separate the players a little bit. And the only thing I'm thinking that could be bad about that is right now there's only arenas, and the cap doesn't take that long to get each day. So even if you are working on upgrading your PvP gear, I think you're going to focus on both just because it doesn't take very long to do PvP each day.
I mean, with the next update, they may make that rift bigger where you can upgrade the PvP gear or not. And it's going to really test to see if there's going to be hardcore players in both PvP and PvE. Because if there's not hardcore players who are doing PvE and dungeons, then no one's going to be able to complete dungeons. And I think if Gameloft wants to do that, to make two different groups of hardcore players, then they need to make sure that PvP has really cool weapons that you can get.
They need more PvP stuff to do. I've been hoping for like a battlegrounds for all you World of Warcraft fanatics since day one. I've hoped for like an arena, but 5 times bigger with 15 players on each team, and like a capture the flag or something. I've been hoping for that since day one. So if they would put that out there, then I would not be doing anything PvE related in the slightest.
Yeah, and if like those battlegrounds had some incentive, like after you win a certain amount of matches, you can get a really cool epic glowing weapon or something, then people wouldn't be doing PvE. Because let's be honest here, the reason people do PvE is because they want those shiny epics. So I mean,
that's the only reason I'm doing PvE right now.
Yeah.
If I had a choice, I would not be going out and killing 50 mobs each day for 5 gears. I would much rather do PvP, but I do want that nice shiny new weapon, so I agree with you.
This is for monks only. Maybe it's just me. It seems like divine monks aren't really found in PvP arenas as much. It's more like melee monks these days. So I think that divine monks are going to be doing PvE more than PvP. And then melee monks will stick with PvP.
Yeah, I think Gameloft did a very nice job this update, other than maybe warriors, of creating this good distinction between, there's a very good class for PvE, and there's a very good class for PvP.
Yeah.
Military monks, awesome for PvP. Assassins, awesome for PvP. Healers, awesome for PvE. Archers, awesome for PvE. So I think they did a good job of class balancing, and at the same time, creating this good, clear distinction.
And it seems like the class that does the most DPS is the one that's going to be doing PvP. Like tanks, they don't do that much DPS, and they're better suited in PvE. And then for battle warriors, they seem to do a lot better in PvP since they do a lot more damage. So
it really depends. It's more about how much damage you can do in a short amount of time, because that's all PvP arenas are.
Yeah.
But one quick thing real fast, just to add on, tanks are actually much better for PvP than battle warriors, because battle warriors, because they have, they take 15% more damage, and then if they have that one martial stance up, they take 30% more damage on top of that. They're even squishier than rangers are. They're better suited for PvE with a group, where tanks are better for PvP.
So that's changed since last update?
Yeah, it has. It definitely has.
I think that's pretty much it. Thanks, Will, for coming on this show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And hopefully we will have more discussions in the future about sins, PvP, and endgame content that hopefully Gameloft is adding right now. Alright, so that about does it for this episode, and now it's time for the question of the week. So, the question of the week is related to this whole discussion today. Do you think sins are now the best class? So, a simple yes or no will do, but if you want to elaborate on that, that's cool too. So, just let me know what you think below. And that's it for this episode. So, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully I'll be having a fun episode next time. But yeah, that's it. So, bye.
teacup.